Hello, my name is Ayanna Lloyd Banwo and I am the author of When We Were Birds. I'm here at Goldsboro Books signing many copies of this gorgeous books. Look, I have spreads. I'm really happy about them. And When We Were Birds is the February premiere book of the month. And I'm so excited to talk to you a little about it today.
So what inspired you to write When We Were Birds?
Oh, inspiration is a funny thing. Every time I answer this question, I realize my answer changes a little bit. It gets a little bit further and further back. But I guess at the core of it, I was really inspired by La Perouse Cemetery, which is the oldest and I guess biggest cemetery in Port of Spain, official cemetery, where, it's called a cemetery. About 3 or 4 generations of my family on my mother's side are buried there. So I guess I spent a lot of time being in La Perouse, particularly because we had a lot of family deaths in a very short space of time. So I spent a lot of time there and I was really inspired by, even in a very grief-stricken time, there's something quite beautiful about graveyards. There's something quite peaceful. They're like archives, they're like big libraries. And that's one of the things I would kind of walk around looking at the headstones, realizing how cosmopolitan a city Port of Spain was. I mean, you have headstones from early 1800s, late 1700s, families that have completely died out, families that you can tell they're still new and the headstones are all clean and they come and they weed and they put flowers, and then there are those that are more or less like huge mausoleums. No one's basically been there in maybe 200 years. So it's a really fascinating place to be at and to wander around. And I guess around that time I was thinking a lot about the people for whom death is their trade, it's their work. They work in terminal wards, they work in mortuaries, they're grave diggers, they're nurses that, it's the last person people see when they die. So I guess from there, these characters started blossoming in my mind.
Yes, that was my other question, was what came first to you? Was it the plot or the characters?
Oh, definitely the characters. I mean, Darwin came first. Darwin walked out of my head walking and talking and, being all angsty and having his things to say. The book started as a short story. And the short story, Darwin was a lot older. He was more jaded. This was Darwin who had lived this book but turned the wrong way. So he was an older, more jaded character. And as the novel sort of developed, I realized, no, I needed to take him back. I needed to take him back to the major point of decision in his life. And so yeah, he definitely came first. And I was writing a particular scene with Darwin walking around, and then Ejide walked in. So a lot of writers say this, and it probably sounds like a cliche, but at least it was the case for me, that I had the place, I had the environment, I had the world, and then the characters sort of emerged out of the world and said who they were, and I was just like, all right, come on in, let's do this.
So that kind of answers my next question, which is, was there a specific character you enjoyed writing the most?
Yeah, it was, I think it's hard for me to choose between my children, huh? I would only say Darwin because he was with me the longest. But you know what character I really like writing Errol. I really liked writing Errol. I liked that he was also the thing about a villain is that they're never really a villain. The longer you spend in their heads, their rationale becomes very clear. Their reasoning becomes very clear. So I think I really enjoyed writing him also.
What would you say you find most difficult about writing, and do you have any tips for aspiring writers?
I find it difficult when the writing is bad. And it is bad for such a long time. I think you have to get used to this idea that you just have to sit there and write one word and another word and another word, and then you have a sentence, and the sentence is leave it, go on to the next one, and then, now I'm saying this, but I find that hard to do. I find myself struggling to have a sentence that I feel good with. It's as basic as that. It's really sentence level for me. And then I can go on and I can go on until I get in enough rhythm to just go. So I guess that would be my advice. If you're already writing and you just feel discouraged by, I've made my word count for the day, but it's so terrible, I don't want to look at it tomorrow. Don't look at it tomorrow, keep going. Look at it at the end of the week.
What are your thoughts on being chosen as a Goldsborough Premier book and our edition? I know you love it. So.
Oh gosh, you know, it was such a lovely thing to even know that, you know, my book was going to be a limited edition of anything. That was really fantastic. You know, a kid who grows up around libraries is one thing, and then you always hear about these huge houses and they have their libraries. It's not just, you know, and the books always look different, and you know, these are very old, so just to think that I'm just a little bit, you know, that somebody would want to have my book as a collector's item, something that they want to keep, something that they treasure. You know, readers and booksellers are the lifeblood of this thing, so the fact that, you know, booksellers wanted to choose my book like that, and knowing that there were readers that would want to have my book on their nice pretty bookshelves for all time. Really, really great feeling.
And you were also recently featured on the cover of The Observer's Top 10 Debut Novelists of 2022. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How did that feel?
Yeah, listen, so I knew that I was on the list because they came and did the shoot, and that in itself was blow mind, because as a debut writer, that's the list that you look at every year to see who's coming out, who got chosen, and to be on that list was great. So I was doing my nails. My phone kept going off. The lady says, you know, do you want to check your phone? I'm like, oh. I was like, whatever it is, I don't want to know. It's probably bad news. let me get a manicure or something, and then I'll deal with that. And when I checked, I realized that they had tweeted the cover. I had no idea I was going to be on the cover. So that was a really, really lovely surprise. And, you know, we all had a little jig at the nail tech, which was fun.
Oh, amazing. And finally, kind of, what are you currently reading?
My current reading is very much around my second novel and my PhD. So it's not, I haven't got to the point where I can just read for pleasure yet, which is a shame, because, you know, the good thing about this writer gig is that people send you proofs. You get to see. But I haven't been able to just sit and kind of pleasure read yet because I am on my deadline. So I'm reading a lot around women and houses. Reading a lot of nonfiction about architecture and thoughts around that. I'm reading a lot about the early developments of Port of Spain, Trinidad, and, you know, how neighborhoods sort of grew up. My second novel is centered around a woman and a house that she's inherited. So yeah, I'm sort of reading around that. This last, right now on my bedside table, I've finished Deborah Levy's Real Estate, which I really, really loved. I'm a big fan of Deborah Levy. And I've started Paula Marshall's Daughters, which is not a new book at all, it's an older book. But I love finding books that I missed over the years, and, you know, it's a great thing about books. Thankfully, hopefully, they never go anywhere. You know, you miss the debut this year, it's fine. They'll be there. They're always there, just kind of waiting for you to discover and rediscover them. So.
And when can we expect book 2 then?
Oh, book 2 is not for a little while, although it'll come around faster than I think. It's carded for 2025.
Exciting. Oh,
Yeah,
well, thank you
exciting.
so much for coming in and signing all 1,500 of our limited edition.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yay.